Welcome to the second of two programs today featuring the finalists of the 2008 Domenic J. Pellicciotti Opera Composition Prize. I'm Kirk Sievertson. I'm on the faculty here at Crane, and I am the music director of the Crane Opera Ensemble. We're so fortunate to have the opportunity to bring a distinguished roster of composers, librettists, dramaturg, and other members of the selection panel to campus for this beautiful September weekend here in Potsdam. For those of you who didn't hear me speak more extensively about the Pellicciotti Prize at the first program earlier this afternoon, you can read more about it in the program. I would like, however, to again acknowledge Dr. Gary Jakeway, SUNY Potsdam class of 1967, who generously established this project in memory of his partner, Domenic Pellicciotti, who was an ardent fan of opera. Gary, thank you again for making this entire project possible. I'd also like to introduce members of the selection panel, which includes several Crane faculty and distinguished opera professionals. You can read their names and their biographies in the program beginning on page 6, but may I just ask that the Pellicciotti committee members please stand. From the four works whose excerpts you hear performed today, the selection panel has the very difficult task of selecting just one project for a full commission and eventual production in November 2018, right here on this stage by the Crane Opera Ensemble and Orchestra. In this program, we feature the world premiere of scenes from two of the four finalist works, The Reef and Uncovered, found in your program on pages 4 and 5. We'll have the composer and librettist introduce each of their works, followed by a performance by students and faculty from the Crane School. And immediately following each performance, we'll invite the composer and librettist back to the stage with Darren Woods, who will moderate an audience feedback session. So we ask that you please be thinking about the works as you hear them performed, and be thinking of questions and feedback you might offer to the creators in a generous dialogue. First up on this program is The Reef, and I'd like to invite librettist Joan Ross Sorkin and composer Anthony Davis to the stage to introduce their work.
Thank you, Kurt. Tonight we are presenting scenes 3 through 5 from our opera, The Reef, so we are not starting from the top. So first, a little context and a summary of scenes 1 and 2 that precede our excerpt. The opera is based on Edith Wharton's novel of the same title and raises universal issues of race and class and the age-old questions of who one should love and whether true love can ever be tainted. The opera is set on Les Alizés, a wealthy sugar plantation on Martinique, 1911, where the social conventions of society rival those of old New York and aristocratic France during that period. To underscore the problems of race and class, you will hear a Greek-style chorus we call the Invisibles, the unseen native laborers whose social position is in sharp contrast to the aristocratic planters. The chorus also represents the natural elements of Martinique, the sun, the sky, the water, often the oppressors and disruptors of life and love. So please also envision the chorus without racial identification, but rather as island spirits providing social commentary throughout the opera. I won't be describing that commentary in order to focus on the narrative, but please know the chorus does much of the heavy lifting. In scene 1, Anna, an American, and her dominating French mother-in-law, Madame, are in the parlor, mourning the death of Philippe, Anna's husband and Madame's son. Anna, suffocating from the heat in the airless, darkened room, confronts Madame to open the shutters. She is unrelenting. Christophe, Anna's 20-year-old stepson, enters, teasing his playful stepsister, 8-year-old Effie, who chases a ball. Christophe is gentle, a free spirit, though socially awkward, but that does not stop him from having an eye for Sonia, Effie's demure mixed-race nursemaid who follows dutifully along. George Darrow, an American diplomat on temporary assignment, comes to pay his respect, and only then does Madame agree to open the shutters. Darrow himself is that breath of fresh air, because Anna and Darrow recognize each other from New York 10 years prior. Anna invites him to tea, and Madame is forced by propriety to extend her hospitality. In scene 2, Anna and Darrow stroll on the terrace and take in the spectacular view of the sea. Anna admits to loneliness and confides she's had an unhappy marriage and feels she's drowning in a few feet of water like the reef beyond. Darrow reminds her of the day they met in Central Park and shared a kiss. However, just as their romance is rekindled, they are interrupted by Effie, Christophe, and Sonia, who arrive on their way to the caning hut to care for an injured bird. Darrow and Sonia recognize each other but keep their distance. Anna and Darrow stroll off to tea with Anna oblivious to Darrow's discomfort, but clearly the audience knows there is now a fly in the ointment. So now for our presentation, starting with scene 3. Anna, Darrow, and Madame are at tea on the terrace. Well, Madame prattles on about the anthuriums, the flowers grown on the plantation. Anna and Darrow are lost in their own thoughts. Anna is giddy with pleasure about being with Darrow, while Darrow is on edge because of Sonia, with whom he has had a recent one-night shipboard fling. When Sonia arrives to ask for cakes for the children's tea, Madame is dismissive and complains how Christophe is so busy playing with nursemaids when he should be acting like a planter's son. Anna notices Darrow's change in demeanor, and all sing their thoughts, including Sonia. Then Anna impulsively invites Darrow to stay the weekend with the excuse that he can be an example to Christophe on how a gentleman behaves. Madame again capitulates. In scene 4, in the upstairs hallway before dinner, Christophe corners Sonia and expresses his love. She tries to rebuff him now that Darrow is on the scene. Darrow glimpses the kiss that Christophe steals from Sonia and hurries to his room. In scene 5, in Darrow's room minutes later, Sonia throws herself at Darrow, who is appalled. He explains their affair meant nothing, and in exasperation at her naivete, he calls her a little black girl. Instantly, he regrets the slur and goes off to meet Anna downstairs. Sonia is left to ponder love, and she soon, too, realizes that love between a diplomat and a nursemaid can never be. She collapses in tears.
Hello. Yes. One of the challenges of writing this was in the first scene that you're going to hear in scene 3, the characters are in very different spaces. The madam they're all drinking tea and having a kind of social occasion. So she's prattling on kind of about the business and about the Martinique, etc., while the other characters are in their own minds. So they're not really communicating directly. So there's this kind of the idea of the internal thoughts of the characters going on at the same time as there's this social interaction. So if you can kind of envision that when you see the scene. In the music, I was very excited to work when we discovered the Invisibles to bring in that element to the piece, because to me one of the things that was going on in this opera was the sense of as the Invisibles being as opposed to the white privilege that sort of all the characters seem to take advantage of. So when you see Darrow or the Madam or Anna, etc. So I was always interested in the class difference and race difference that lies underneath that surface and the tension that provides. So the chorus has an interesting response, because a lot of times the chorus is very skeptical about what's going on. So that skepticism, I think, is healthy, and some of their comments are kind of cryptic. So that's interesting for me too. So this offered me a chance to be playful as composer, sometimes to play with the idea of the opposition of the chorus to what's going on, and their skepticism about what's going to happen in the future. So I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Mingled with polite society. humanity.
Uncanny. I'm invisible. The flowers, the king, the natives with their attitude.
I wonder if I should stay.
What shall I say?
Is life a game? I'm ashamed. Is this how God makes me pay? It's the brightest and darkest Since you put it that way, it would be a pleasure to remain. Yes, I would gladly stay if I am welcome.
What can I say? We are friends. A guest at Vis-a-Vis cannot be turned away. Yes, now rest in your chair, simply another anchor.
Excuse me, I didn't mean to intrude. Yes. You shouldn't be here.
How could I stay away when I saw you? It was as if life came rushing back to me.
Sonia, you mustn't think of that now. Your kiss in the hallway, it means you love another. I'm happy for you.
It's not what it seemed. Christoph and I were over when I saw your face here at Les Elysees.
You and I, it's all in the past.
Do you see? God has brought us together once more.
Please, this is difficult enough.
You say you've come on business, Monsieur de Chantal. Was an important but my faith in Jesus has brought you back to me.
My dear, faith has no part in this.
You call me dear, like that light approaching. That night we made such wondrous love. I know in my heart you have been waiting to let me all over again.
But a child, an innocent, fantasies dance in your head. must not speak of this to anyone. No one at all. I am alone, you.
You can't deny it happened. For you and me, there's more that I have to say.
Enough of this chatter. It will cause more harm than good. You will lose your position. Think of their feet. Think of your dear Christophe.
I don't love Christophe. I only care for you.
Nonsense! Look at yourself. You're a nursemaid from the island. A little black girl from Martinique. I didn't mean it to come out that way. I'll go now. I'm expected downstairs for dinner.
I'm not ready. We don't want to soon nothing at all. Why should the color of my skin count for anything when it comes to love? A kiss and embrace knows no boundaries, knows no color or that divide the world, imaginary fences that keep when there can be love, why must there be disdain? When there can be kindness, my Lord preaches compassion. Let compassion find its way to me. Don't deceive yourself. Goodness rises in the tide. At night beneath the moon, he looked into my eyes and proclaimed his love. He gave me his whole being. It lives forever.
Okay, wow, congratulations. Thank you so much, both of you. That's really terrific. I was told that the streaming audience was not able to hear you, so I will ask you to project a little bit more when you have comments, and then I will do my best to repeat in a Reader's Digest version a little bit what you said so we can get the feedback and then go on to the next piece. So what struck you? What was memorable to you? What was special for you? What blew you away in The Reef? Anybody? Laurie.
So I love the way that you were able to layer the chorus and the soloist in, with different things happening. That was very striking. And the arias were just really, really beautiful in their use of jazz and just the phrasing was so interesting.
Laurie said she really liked the way he layered the chorus in with the text and with the other voices, and the arias were really just really beautiful and special. And I'm sorry that's like a Cliff Notes, but anything else? I felt like dancing. I loved the rhythm, and I felt like I was really there on an island. Anything? Y'all were so good at this afternoon. Yes?
That love aria, I know you don't write about love, but it's wonderful. You should write more about it.
The love aria was good. We should write more about love. I really love the chorus too. I love the colors in the chorus, and people don't write choruses that much anymore, so it was really special to hear that.
Also, one other thing, just that the very first chord you said, the tonality of it really sets the mood, I think, of the island, just from the very first notes. So,
Oh, thank you.
The very first note really set the mood for the island. So what are some questions that you all might have for the audience?
Well, I have a loaded question.
Let's see if that's allowed. Go ahead, Joe.
I hope there's no gun, that's all.
No, definitely not.
Sorry.
So I'm kind of a sop for a good love story. And in this piece, we haven't gotten up to this part, but later in the opera, Anna does learn that Sonia is carrying Darrow's child. And she draws a line in the sand at that. Okay, so that's just finally a no-no for her. Now, in this, coming back to like the present, and this is addressed to our young people in the audience. So, you know, we're in an age where, you know, hookups are okay, you know, multiple partners, shall we say. So I want to know if this kind of a love story still resonates with you.
Yes.
I think that I would say that it would, just because the context of the story is about a lot about the race and class divisions between the native islanders and the aristocracy. So while I guess those kinds of relationships are a little more acceptable today, there's still the line of class division that is present in a lot of life still today, and there's also the line. Adultery is still something that we frown upon. If you're married. So I'd say yeah, it's still relatable. It's still dramatic.
The audience member says yes, it still relates, especially in light of the class structure and race structure that they've created in this world. So thank you.
I think also Darrow's rejection of Sonia is something that is still very relatable, even with the differences between modern dating and what you have here.
Anthony, do you have a question for the audience?
Let's see. I think a question I think is, what did you think of the relationship of the Invisibles to the action? How do you see them?
Right there. Yeah.
So how I really enjoy the fact that there's four different layers of commentary that's occurring. You know, you have in scene 3, you have Madame who's talking about the flowers and how everything is going, and then they're out in their own little worlds. And then the chorus is actually paying attention to what Madame was saying, and it's just like, yeah, your business is great, but that's because of us. And so there's this little like snarky then you have the exact opposite end of the spectrum going, well, yeah, but it's also right down here. And so the way they kind of echo what she says in twists.
Yeah, twist it around, yeah.
I'm not sure I can cliff notes that, but I'll try. That was a really good answer, so I wish I'd give you the microphone. There are 4 different layers of commentary going on at all times in that first scene, and that they're talking about how great it is of the aristocracy, but the invisibles are saying, yeah, but it's due largely to what we're doing. And so you see I think you're seeing the class structure even in these 4 different layers of commentary in that scene. Questions that you might have for the artists?
Yeah. Oh, he is a great.
I have a response to what you were saying before. I think a lot of times on islands they're seen as vacation spots for people with money, and so when you go there, people stay on resorts, people do those sort of things instead of actually interacting with quote unquote the invisibles, the people who actually live there, that actually experience the island, that actually really know the island. And I thought that the interjections of the invisibles kind of it allowed for that voice to ring through.
Interesting, sort of life imitates art. When we go on vacation to an island, we often ignore the people that are working there and making things happen on the resorts, the places that we go. Interesting comment. Questions for the artists? Yes.
Sorry.
How long did it take you to compose that?
How long did it take Anthony and Joan to compose that section that we just heard?
Okay, well, I'll answer that. It was very interesting because I was in the middle of another opera, so I was writing another opera about the Central Park Five, called Five, which couldn't be more different than this. And I was writing an aria for Donald Trump, actually. But so this is a welcome relief. So I found myself, oh my God, this is so great. I could deal with people, love and all this stuff, and it really just came out of me really well, and it was really fun. So about a couple months, and I had it, about a month or month and a half, something.
That's astonishing to me. I would be looking at that staff paper for generations before anything got on there. Yes, Nicole?
Can you talk about the orchestration? I see that it's very small.
Can you talk about the orchestration?
Oh, yes, yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, well, I know there'd be strings and et cetera. I would like to use steel drums in it. I'm going to do some things to reflect music from the islands, calypso, et cetera. You hear sort of reference that little black girl from Martinique, that I like writing ditties too. I like writing little jingles sometimes. So I think the orchestra, I'm going to use some electronics too. I would like to, because there's some things I want to evoke with the ocean and the conch shell kind of sound, like as if the sound's in a conch shell, So there's stuff I want to do with that, and then I know with strings and woodwinds. We have percussion, yeah.
How many total were we talking?
Total, were you talking? I don't know. I think 15,
That's a producer's always first question. How big is the orchestra?
Yeah, I've worked with I've written operas that have 8 instruments, and I've written operas with, 50. So I think I love working in both forms.
I can pay for 50. That's good. Another question? All right, thank you guys. Thank you so much. It's great to have you here. We're going to take 5 minutes and then go right into the next one.
For the final of our 4 performances, the opera Uncovered, I'd like to introduce librettist Leah Lax and composer Lori Laitman.
I'm Lori. This is Leah. We want to begin with thanks to everyone associated with the Pellicciotti Prize, and to the faculty and students for your hard work and your very fine artistry. We've been gratified and blown away. and especially to Dr. Gary J. Quay. It's a great, great honor to be part, for me personally, particularly of this very public way of honoring a love that was obviously part of the bond, was a great mutual love of beauty and of beautiful music. Uncovered is based on my memoir of the same title. When I was a young teen, I fell in love with the Hasidim, Jewish ultra-Orthodox men in black suits and untrimmed beards, and their wives in long, modest clothes. I was a Dallas, Texas public school kid, a child of 60s liberal parents, and a move to the right that included old-style religion seemed like a good rebellious thing to do. In fact, at that time, there was a sweep all across our country's campuses of young people doing the same. We would be the grown-ups. We'd go out, we thought, and fix that broken world. So, like a good soldier of God, I accepted an arranged marriage, oblivious to the fact that my tendency to fall in love with my girlfriends might present a problem. Uncovered goes beneath the covers of one covered woman's life, her passions and secret desires, her forbidden dreams. We open tonight on scene 1. It's Lisa's wedding in Dallas in 1975. Lisa has returned from college, a Hasidic girl, and her mother isn't too happy about it. Scattered among the society crowd are people in Hasidic garb that Lisa has invited, and the wedding is conducted by a Hasidic rabbi. When the curtain opens, we find bossy grandmother out on stage directing workers, setting up the wedding, and guests just arriving, chattering about what's going on in the world. Lisa stands like an island amidst all that with a prayer book, singing a hopeful prayer, until Anna, a silent, dreamlike figure, comes, encircles Lisa, and arouses her secret longing. We meet Mother, who both veils her daughter and at the same time begs her to go out and become something in this new world for women. And we meet the rabbi with his ponderous voice, two forces that will pull Lisa in opposite directions. And we meet Levi, the groom, newly devout, a little uncertain, and very much in love. Later, in a heartbreaking scene, Lisa will put away her beloved cello forever. But remembered music will become the sound of her longing. Also, the voice of her mother saying it's a new world for women will be a through line, eventually an ethereal sound that will occur at the most ironic times as the story progresses. Because Lisa becomes Leah. They will have she and Levi will have 7 children whom she mothers within a community of mothers until one pregnancy too many drives her to take control of her life in order to survive. This is opera. This is opera. So she falls into a passionate secret love with a woman, and the community, when they learn, they rise up. Scene 1 gives us the world of this opera. Now, practically speaking, this is a workshop, so you're hearing the music without seeing the action, and this is a very active scene, which means the audience, you get to take part with your imagination to help fully create the scene for each of you. So as it opens, imagine the bustle setup, the chattering guests. Imagine the ghost-like figure of Lisa's beloved pacing a circle around her as she tries to pray. And the poignant gesture of mother placing the veil on her daughter that's been used by 3 generations of survivors in her Jewish family as she sings her song, as mother sings her song of letting go of her daughter. When the wedding ceremony begins, imagine the procession, Levi escorted by men, followed by Lisa, who has told her mother and grandmother, "I am not you. Don't call me Lisa anymore." She follows Levi, escorted by mother and grandmother. Picture Leah pacing a circle now around the groom, and listen to her grandmother and mother cautioning her, "Don't get lost in circles without end." Listen for the moment, then imagine Levi lifting the veil to give his new bride a drink of what we call the wine of sleep, and the rabbi blessing her, "Be thou mother of tens of thousands." Then imagine the crash of stomping on a glass, the cries of Mazel Tov, and the dancing that engulfs the stage until the crucial ending in which Leah flings her hand in the dance and the ring flies off her hand and away and gets lost. Leah will cry, the ring, my marriage, my future, the ring. That's our cliffhanger ending to scene 1. I dedicated my memoir, Uncovered, which inspired this opera, to my covered sisters everywhere, with their secrets and their hidden varieties of love and passion and need. This story of a woman finding the voice and the courage to be herself and set out in the world to find her own path. To them and to all of us here today, I ask each one of us, each one of you tonight, what do you wish you could do? Who would you be? Thank you.
And when I read Leah's memoir, I was struck by its honesty. And we were acquaintances on Facebook, and I reached out to her and initially thought this would make a good song cycle, and then I thought it would make a great one-act opera. And she really re-envisioned it, shrunk it down to make the libretto for me. Just a few words about my style. I have a very lyrical style. I always write the vocal line first. I custom craft every melody to fit the words exactly. And I use the structure of my melody so that the most important words, as I perceive them in a line, are emphasized by musical means. And then I use the harmonies to color the subtext, the emotions, what's happening, and then I try to create every layer of music to sort of make everything bloom and blossom and be extra dramatic. So I think you'll hear, of course, in this story about Hasidic Jewry, I had to create, I use a lot of Hebrew-type melodies and intervals to create this world. So I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much.
shadow
I think people are leaving to go do Patti LuPone or something, so we still want to give some feedback to our artists for this. Congratulations, you guys. It's really beautiful, really terrific. So, statements of what you loved, what blew you away, what did you like about it? Yes, ma'am, right back there. So the truth of the subject matter really spoke to you, and the risk-taking that not only this piece, but American opera is taking, I think, largely these days. It's been a great decade for American opera, and we're really seeing the birth of incredible new opera on risky subjects.
And it also speaks to young people, because a lot of younger people don't appreciate opera as much as they probably should.
I agree that they don't appreciate opera as much as they probably should. Yes.
So yesterday I was at the panel discussion, and you both talked a lot about expressing the moments that you can't put into words. And so I was really, I was of course, but I was listening really hard today for that sort of thing. And there were so many moments throughout this that I just got chills all over my body.
That's great.
Just throughout the lyricism and just the perfect poignant moments that it was very.
Thank you so much.
Y'all do very good things that I can't cliff note, so it was a very good comment. Yes, Lionel?
I was wondering, we were talking earlier about orchestration. What
Yes.
do you hear in your ear when you hear the piano part?
Yes. Well. Oh, did you see them? It's crazy. I mean, really crazy. So
We've sort of thrown Liz Lerman out the door, but you know what? Let's just have a dialogue because we...
Sure. So Lonell, who is a great Levy, thank you, and great stomping of the glass, and thank you, chorus, for singing Mazel Tov. I mean, saying Mazel Tov. That was a last-minute request on my part this morning or this afternoon. This is going to be orchestrated for 4 instruments, so it will be very doable. Yes, and those 4 instruments are piano, violin, cello, and clarinet. And I've used these 4 instruments before in my Vedem Holocaust oratorio, and that's also the orchestration for Messiaen's Quartet for the End of Time. Those 4 instruments give you an incredible range, almost symphonic, I think. Plus, it has the benefit of being very producible. Darren. So, I mean, the clarinet has an extraordinary range. It also has, association with klezmer Jewish music, and so does the violin, and the cello is the Leia's soul, and piano. So I think with those 4 instruments, we'll be able to capture everything in terms of. I mean, when the piano alone was playing the interlude that was in the left hand, that will be played by the cello, obviously. But then there are other interludes, where maybe it will be a combination of instruments. I don't know until I do it.
Leah, will you speak to because I asked, I said, I didn't read the memoir. I studied it before it came, obviously, but I read the treatment. I said, did you play the cello?
Yes, I played the cello as a kid, and that's why the mother and grandmother say, Levi will never know our Lisa, who played her cello through the day and dreamed. And what you see later after this scene, hopefully you'll get to see, is a very heartbreaking scene in which Lisa puts her cello away for the last time and tells her instrument, she holds it, cradles it like a child and says, you were my voice of longing. So I think that one of the things that Lori and I wanted to do very, very much is to have that sense of collaboration in every way. And in this way, the music and the physical cello actually become characters in the libretto. And in my imagined staging, a librettist writes a staging into the libretto so that the stage director will have something to ignore. But but in my imagined staging, there's an open closet on the stage in the subsequent scenes in which you see a line of long skirts, a line of long sleeve tops, and hiding behind them, literally in the closet, the cello that has been closed up in the case and stored away. And at the very end of the opera, when she leaves, in my what I call my Peter Grimes moment, she carries the cello away with her. And I didn't touch the cello for 30 years, but I picked it back up when I picked it back up when I got affiliated with opera again, and sort of do it privately.
I'm
and
always
chamber
interested in the
music.
questions that you might have for the audience. So why don't you guys each ask a question of our audience members?
Well, I just wanted to see if the music really captured the moments. You know, there were different, I always try to have clear music for each character. Like for the grandmother, you know, she repeats a lot of things. She's very bossy. You know, she's directing traffic, and you know, Leia is very, very simple at the start. It gets a little bit more complicated later. But were the different characterizations clear to people?
Comment? Yes.
Actually, that was something I was going to congratulate you on. I particularly appreciated the simplicity and the tenderness of both the libretto and the music for Leia, for Lisa, when she's expressing her inner thoughts, because it's just so beautiful and it is very lyrical, as you mentioned that your music is, but you certainly composed beautiful, beautiful sequences.
Oh, thank you so much.
That was a beautiful yes to that question. Any other? Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
You have to ask the audience a question. You first. No, I just did.
I don't have any questions.
Do you guys have any questions? Yes.
So I really enjoyed that there's three strong women at the center of this, at least this section, and that all three of them have very individual views of the world, but yet they have strength in their own way. And I feel like that is a rare thing in all forms of art, but including opera, is that I imagine that the mother and the grandmother are probably not going to be big characters throughout the whole opera, but does that continue with the sort of strong female?
Well, and I do remember a question. I do have a question now. I just got nonplussed for a minute. But in answer to yours first,
Are there continuing to be strong women characters throughout the opera, since probably the grandmother and the mother don't appear often or much after this scene?
the grandmother and the mother drop out completely until the very end, and they reappear in the end. And you don't. I was very keenly aware that this is an opera based on a memoir, and I wrote into the libretto a sense of the vagaries of memory. And there are times when you don't know if she's remembering something or if it's really happening. In that sense, it's really the mother and grandmother's voice in her own head, but they have what I know with Laurie is going to be a very beautiful trio at the end where the three sing together. There's also two Lisas. There's the younger Lisa in this, and then there's the older Leia that will take over at a point in the opera. And we will actually have Lisa and Leia singing to one another at the end.
I'm glad to see soprano roles, because we've been writing for a lot of... First, mezzos didn't get anything for years, right? And then now mezzos get everything, and now we've got some soprano stuff back going on. Another question? You had a question, you said?
It'll come back to me in a minute.
You know what? I have to say, when a composer and librettist hear their piece for the first time, often that's what happens. Yes, thanks.
I remember the question.
So would you say that in this opera that you create two very distinct characters for Lisa and Leia?
Do you create two different characters for Lisa and Leia? Let's do it musically and dramatically.
Not so much musically, although in terms of sound, you know, at the very, very beginning, I did ask for Bridget for a clearer, sort of more pure sound, you know, at the start of the scene, which you did so beautifully. Thank you so much. And, but no, I mean, she is the same person. I really didn't create two different characters for her.
And yet they are in conversation with one another. As we grow older, we often think back and are in conversation with our younger selves. And that was my question for you, is that I know the arc of the story. I know the scope of this opera. You have seen scene one only. And I can tell you that, she starts out young and pure and innocent, jumps in, and of course life happens to her as it does to us all. And that there's a very great change. But do you have that, a scene one in any narrative is a microcosm of the whole? I needed to bring you into the world of the opera and show you the conflicts and the relationships, like closed flowers that are just beginning to open. And what you have to get, I'm hoping I gave you, is a sense of the tension and potential in those relationships, so that when scene one is over, you know that there are things, a number of things that are going to happen. You should almost feel like you're leaning forward, like something is about to happen and it hasn't happened yet, and that these people are going to change and life is going to work on them. And I want to know if you felt that way at all.
Deborah?
kind of feeling about, something clearly big was going to happen. And I found that very engaging, as well as, all the different levels of conflict and the role of the community through the chorus, which was so beautifully expressed. So, it was ripe with conflict on many levels, which I found very engaging.
That was a very beautiful yes. Yes, sir.
I have a question sort of wrapped around a comment there. I found at times the technique in general, except when you allow the great expansiveness for Lisa, to be a bit hectic. Now I know that this is the nature of Pacific weddings, but I think back to Fiddler on the Roof, and that was Pacific, very Pacific. And yet there was a certain elegance and grace in the dancing that I felt that there was a hectic quality in much of what was written.
Right. I was aiming for a hectic quality, so that's good. But I think maybe that's built in because of the tension, because...
But my commentary then, that was my question, was that intentional? My commentary is that it does render the text, especially when it is syllabic, and especially when it is extraordinarily high, for example, in Leno's part, almost incomprehensible.
Well, then I need to rewrite that. Possibly.
I find it very difficult to enunciate and really make text clear.
Right, of course. Yes. Well, I think you did a great job. I didn't even know you. I'm always cognizant of what works best for the voice. And if something doesn't work, I always want my singers to tell me it doesn't work, and then I will write them new notes, because I'm always after the drama of the situation, and it can be achieved in many different ways. But primacy of the text and making sure text comes out. So if there are any spots you want to talk to me about, please talk to me.
But I do have to say that Rabbi, and maybe it's my familiarity with the text, but I was very pleased that I could understand just about every word that you sang so clearly and beautifully.
Except the Hebrew, right?
Your Hebrew was excellent.
Hebrew was good.
Anthony?
No, I really like the sense of the anxiety that's on it. I mean, there are different layers of emotion. It's not just, the wedding's happening, but also, and I remember you saying that you write music for it to make it happier, et cetera. But I feel like there's still that the anxiousness is important.
Yeah.
And it works on me.
Yes.
If I might just add to this comment, the anxiety, I think that sometimes we as musicians, and I include all of us together here, misconstrue the idea of anxiety and fast. We confuse those two issues. I think that sometimes anxiety can also be expressed in a tension that requires a certain
sometimes we have to think in even considering tempos for different singers, that if a singer does not feel comfortable or doesn't feel that tension or is too hectic, then the effect that you as composer or librettist
Sure.
or we as collaborators with you can't really do.
Well, let me just tell you my motto. A happy singer is a good singer. So I always try to make my singers happy.
Okay, on that note, oh, sorry. Nicole, last question, yeah.
One small point, because I actually think that you did something very well in that, actually I felt at times that there were two tempos going on, because there was this movement speed in the orchestration of that, but then the voice would have longer held notes, so that there was this tension, but respecting that the singers in a very high note would rather sail a bit up there rather than having it really quickly. So I thought that that was very, very well handled, and I thought also that at times where perhaps the text was very high and was harder to understand, you used repetition, you
Yes.
repeated again, so we got it. So then after that, if it went up there, we already knew what was being
Right,
said.
I
So
do.
actually commend you on that.
Oh, thank you so much.
I thought that the way you used the range of the voices had a lot of dramatic impact.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I want to not only thank our artists, all these two artists, but all of our artists, that collaborators, creators, all the singers, the Crane School of Music, the Pellicciotti competition. This is so important in American opera, and it's happening right here in Potsdam, New York. And you all should be so proud and be commended. I honor the fact that you bring me up here, and Mark and Corey, and allow us to participate in what is really no one in the country is doing it at the university level like you are. So pat yourself on the back and thank you all so much. Thank you.